Superman 0 Day Part 2. If only he was in the streets.
Ooh. Oh, I let him answer the question?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, he thinks he's the termites.
personal vendettas. We'll judge. We'll cloud your judgment.
The symbol.
Zod? Is it a multiversal Kryptonian? Brother Eye from the future? Probably is like a mix of Brother Eye and Superman from a different multiverse. Not Brother Eye. OMAC. Sorry, this one is OMAC, not Brother Eye.
I had no idea.
I'm sorry. I know you don't. I'm sorry. Another government taking technology and repurposing it? I don't understand. How's that his fault? That was you, boo boo. Oh, Waller, what are you doing?
The fact that they well, she had her power. It's interesting stuff.
Too bad his Task Force X doesn't make mistakes.
If his people ate dismissed.
Well, there we go. Oh, there we go.
Waller's gonna do what she wants to do, what she believes she needs to get done. I never understood, like, when you have the guards do things that, like, aren't you guys briefed on in case there's a escape? Like, okay. I mean,
Oh man.
you guys let monsters into the playroom.
This
Can't capture people. I mean, but you can't capture people and expect them not to want to kick your ass.
Yeah.
And is this how he loses his eye? Making him like a fucking kaiju. The pain his body must be going through.
Man, kaiju number 8 out here, bro. 47 from whoa.
Girl, you're little. That is a big man. How are you gonna drag him? You're not. You help people. No, what's wrong?
Oh man.
And it makes sense made.
That's so funny because when you think about it, on Krypton, they can't do. They could probably. I think they can still fly, but they can't. I don't know how power scaling works on Krypton, but it's like things that are normal on one planet are seen as hurtful and as a weapon on another.
Yeah.
Right? You need to go talk to your spaceship, man.
Alright, yeah, this is definitely kaiju territory.
Wouldn't be an anime without one. Okay, Jesus Christ.
It's Godzilla. Yo.
Jesus. Very kaiju. Aging. Pookie. You don't care. They never do.
They never do, bro.
They were so worried about weapons and an invasion from above. It's like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Always so worried about a threat from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not that first set of aliens wasn't a threat, whatever. But it is very like you're so worried about the threat that isn't even here. You look past the threat that the phone call's coming from inside the house.
Yeah. Wait. Hold on. Did that comment said mid? Wait a second. Read the comment. Face reveal. Mid. Hard King. He works for the people. I don't know this woman. Oh no. Keck. Wow. This is Twitch. This is a Twitch chat. A deep fake, bro.
Guys, you should be inside. Why are you out there?
This man's like, screw that. I'm just saying, with 5 million followers and only 10,000 live stream viewers, what's going
People
on
got
there?
things to do in other places. Maybe people are sleeping, Michael.
Nah. Superman is the most important thing at trending.
I mean, electricity still runs places, but okay, guys. I love the sentiment.
Yeah. All he needs to do is get to the sun anyway, and it's.
All he needs to do is get to the actual power. But I guess, this weakens him for now a little bit.
My man's just. Oh man.
Damn.
I know you're in there.
Neither are you, bro. You kind of did that yourself.
Bitch, you did that. Like, it's always someone else's fault.
Mm-hmm.
You chose.
Mm-hmm. Woohoo! GG's.
Nice. Is that just gonna be in the middle of the city now? Everyone, it's still a giant thing that could fall at any time. Go
Yeah.
into your homes. Get away.
Being right here because I'm never letting you go again.
This man. The exit. Stage right.
Said.
Oh man.
Pookies.
Oh, for first week of a date, huh?
Superman.
Oh, that is how he lost his eye.
There is no we here.
Bro, that wasn't even him though.
Authorized by Checkmate X.
Ain't it always like that?
Mm-hmm. Well, yep. The pictures in the background. A little kryptonite.
So I really just want to say I really like the tone that these two episodes are taking, because I think a lot of fans forget that Superman is an immigrant. Superman is an immigration story, told by its creators. He's not from here, but he's here to show you that even with his special abilities, he's here to help us, or just to live a normal life, because that's kind of what Clark wanted at the beginning. He's just here to live like everyone else. But through his abilities, he's chosen to help people.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say with like everyone who comes to in whatever country, because as we know, with governments or people are people are bad, people are good, people are morally gray. But like, I like that this really cemented that, even though it is very much just like, so there's always this conversation back and forth whenever The Boys comes out, how a lot of conservative fans or right-wing fans or incel fans will never fully understand that, even though The Boys makes fun of us all, but they'll never understand that The Boys is really making fun of them too, right? Is really like critiquing and telegraphing the ridiculousness of the extremeness of what bigots and fanatics, zealots, racist people do, right?
They definitely got it this season, because now people are review bombing it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they do it every season, but it is very like, I think with what was it, episode 2, where they were at the convention, I think it really just drove it home for some people. And then also I think there's also this conversation around some of the actors too, but that's the Boys thing. But like, so like with this, there's always a conversation with these fans about Superman, how he's truth, justice, and the American way, right? And and that's a tagline that's been used for him for many years. I don't know if that was an original tagline for his. Like I said, I'm not a huge DC nerd. I'm more of a Marvel nerd. But even then, obviously, I'm not 100 years old, so I can't tell you what was in fashion when Superman first came out, right? I could just tell you the basis of a story that I know. But when people point out that he's created by Jewish men to tell their story about how they were feeling about the world around them and how they felt. And like with any pop culture icon or any story, people will perceive it as is, even if the message is clear. They'll ignore messages or ignore ideas to suit how they envision the world or how they envision themselves. Like, Superman would never be your friend. Like,
Mhm.
Superman would try to talk to you and, try to change your opinion because that's the kind of guy Kal-El is. But he's not you. He's really the kid who's coming here for school from Mexico or from Iran or from Palestine or from Russia or from China or, you know, from Brazil, from all over to try to better their lives. He's the dad who knows he can who knows how the system here works and is even though is willing to pay him less for harder work, is still going to do the job because he needs to send money back to his family.
Mhm.
He's the doctors that come here to try to help us, even though they know some Americans look down on them, right?
Yeah.
Or he's even the first generation, because he's either the first generation immigrant who's going to do everything that he can to help his parents, but also try to seek a life for himself, right? He's just a good guy who wants to do what's at least this version, because as we can see, there are many Superman who choose many different paths of life, but this Superman that we're following is a guy who just wants to help. And like I said, I really do appreciate that they really drove home the immigrant storyline for him, at least in these two. I mean, throughout the whole season, in my opinion, um, because that is his story, and I think that's so important. It's endearing in a way and sympathetic, and especially with all the stuff that's constantly going on, but especially in the last couple years, um, with how people even who are born here are trying to destroy here, trying to destroy other people who are just also trying to live their lives, right? Who don't see that it's not people from other places that are taking your jobs, it's the corporations that are giving it to them and firing you because you semi know your rights and know your worth. And people from all over are just trying to get by and are willing just to take work, so they're going to pay them less and work them harder. It's not their fault. It's capitalism's fault. It's the corporation's fault.
Mhm.
And they kind of touch on that a little bit here. Like Superman's taking jobs from like Vicky Bale says, Superman takes jobs from so many people, and then it's not people like Ivo and Alex who are like, well, he created a mess, and it's like, no, you guys created the mess. He
Yeah.
just is
He is
he's
just a
just a
byproduct.
byproduct of it, right? And then the General and Waller, who had people from somewhere else really hurt them, and are now taking it out on all the other people that look like them, which is what, let's say, like, I think 9/11 is a good allegory for how Muslim hate or brown people hate was so high even in media and in real life that it made so many people's lives difficult and hard because people can't see past their own bigotry because
Mhm.
one group of people did something so horrendous, right? And it's kind of like I can even say that about us. Like, you guys wouldn't expect, um our government has done so much to hurt so many people, but like it it's so weird because our government has done so much to hurt so many people, and I can't even fault for anyone that our government has hurt for hating us over here, right? But I'm also well aware that I'm not my government. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like that too. Like, you wouldn't like if like you as an American went somewhere and then someone treated you like shit because of what your government's done, what one bad group of people has done, because you didn't do it, right?
Mhm.
And you're smarter, and again, you're not your government. Um yeah, it's I don't know if it's like a silly thing to say to talk. I don't think it's no, it's not silly, and it's not wrong to talk about this stuff because this is what Superman is. And it's kind of just we're living in a world where, like I said, people who idolize him ignore the fundamentals of who Superman is. Yeah, all that to say, I just really appreciate that they were really trying to drive it home in these 2 episodes, who
Yeah,
Superman really is and what his story really is.
yeah. Because just building off of what you're
So
saying, like um, like the topics that that we've been talking about most recently, like going all the way to X-Men and the allegories that is being related, and then of course seeing what's happening in the boys. People are like it's every just going hitting the boys real quick. Like every season of
mhm,
the boys, right? Um, you always will see the jokes that are like they'll joke about the people on the left, the people on the right, but the people on the right would be like, haha, like you got people like this is why we think these things about the people on the left, and then you know like this season when it's like really glaring now at like the microscope, the lens is real, like you can see the boys is making full on fun of the right wing rhetoric and whatnot, and people are just like, yeah, I can't stomach this. The boys used to just be all about just making fun of people on the left, and now that it's on the other shoe. I'm like, bro, it's always been on that shoe. Like they don't, like the whole thing is that they don't care. Like it's
mhm,
kind of like South Park in a way. They'll just do whatever they want. Like nobody is safe type
right,
of thing, right? From being parodied or talked about or made fun of and whatnot. But the issues that they bring up are always real issues that are talking points, and some people just never really want to have when it comes to the media, like they don't want to have those type of conversations, warranted or not. That's just what it comes down to. So in superhero, more, I guess you could say nowadays, you're seeing it more reflective of our current times and our current mediums, of what's going on in the shows that we're watching, especially because different from anime and manga, those are adapted one to one with the source material. You have these new IPs that can have multiple different writers writing for whatever the current times are, writing for the situations that are in current times, and you're not really going to
mhm,
get that in anime and manga. And then even
mhm,
when it is anime and manga, they're writing for their culture, for their whatever is might be pressing in their current times. Same thing with Korean dramas as well. They're not they'll tackle their societal issues, and when I guess you say with the spreading in streaming services, like trying to mix different cultures, let people see other different mediums and whatnot. That's where often you'll get a lot of the questioning. Like for instance, we're watching certain animes, bringing up, okay, well, if this is how it's gonna be done in Japan, like, can they be a little bit more open minded or stuff like that? But it's more so, well, that's reflective of what's going on in Japan and their current culture slash their political landscape and whatnot. Very different from over here in the U.S. where it does feel if I mean just even going online, like every day feels like a race war, feels like some type of something political is always going down, what no matter on which side you're on. And these shows like Superman and The Boys and some of these other series that are in American media are reflective of that. And so it's always been an interesting thing to see, because you're going to get people that are just like, well, they don't want to deal with the escapism is so they can escape from, say, dealing with these things, which is fair.
mhm,
Like that's fair. And at the same time, within the superhero medium, when you have what's going on with Clark and his journey, just trying to figure out his way of life, and what's going on, like who he is as a person and whatnot. You can see a lot of the writer's intentions for this particular story dealing with Superman. It was really cool to see in episode 7 the multiple different Superman iterations, multiple Lois Lane iterations, because at least making, I guess, an educated guess, a lot of the stuff that we talk about or even discussing in Superman for this particular series weren't prevalent and weren't as discussed in previous iterations of Superman. because it does mirror what's ever pretty much going on along with the culture. So you can say like right now, more of the superhero stuff we're seeing, we could draw more allegories. We could draw more stuff that's a little bit more politicized. That's what I've noticed a lot with a lot of superhero mediums nowadays compared
Oh,
to saying 10 years ago. I mean, because we could go back multiple decades and see that, it was not as talked about and not as more publicized.
I'll say this as someone who's in on this side of things, on this side of comic
Mm-hmm.
book things. It's always been like this. It's always been like this. I think, and I forgot what show we were watching, but um, art and creation is a reflection of the time and the
Mm-hmm.
world around you. That's why we create these things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Comics have always been a political thing. I think it's really about who's telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, because we could break down like, okay, so like X-Men is probably not the best to counter argue because X-Men is always political.
Mm-hmm.
No matter the iteration, it's political in X-Men Evolution, it's political in Wolverine in the X-Men. It's
Mm-hmm.
just about finding the allegories and the reflections of the story for what it means for the time that those animated series came out.
Mm-hmm.
But comic book wise, I mean, with the exception of a few stories that are just about, Wolverine going to figure out his past, but then it's also, and you talk about the larger Wolverine picture, it's also about government overreach and what the governments will do to create super soldiers and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. What that happens, when that happens, and what happens when they lose control and you destroy a man's life, or when a man's lived for so long and is trying to figure out who he is, and he's been a tool for so many things. Um, I may not like Logan, but I can. There's an understanding I have with that
Mm-hmm.
character. Superman, in my opinion, all this stuff has always been political, but it's really about, and it's always been talked about, but it's really about the lens that it's being shown through. Uh, Justice League Unlimited, the Superman Adventures, Batman Adventures. Um, there's stories in there. It's just about, we would have to watch it so that
Mm-hmm.
we can discuss about, well, this came out in the 90s, this came out in the
Mm-hmm.
2000s. Um, it's kind of like Star Trek in a way too, like these comic books. It's really just what writers and creators of the time can discuss through their limited scope because they don't know what 2024 is like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just seems more conversational because of social media, because we are,
Yeah, this is the
yeah,
gist of
we're
it.
able to
Yeah.
talk to more people about this stuff. Whereas something like if the Batman Tim Burton movies,
Mm-hmm.
I have to rewatch it. I haven't watched those in forever, but it's like, you know I think Selena Kyle is a good explanation for like women in the workplace and what happens when it doesn't meet the standards of a woman in the workplace kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, or how rich people dump chemicals or how they treat ugly babies, and that's the penguin story, and how people move politically because the penguin's also running for mayor and what that
Mm-hmm.
means, right? Um yeah, I like. And I'm only just to say that is because, like, since this is the ride that I'm constantly on, these
Mm-hmm.
stories have always been there. I just think it feels more talked about because we're more open to community now because of social media.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's more superhero content out there than there has been in a long time. I also think when we talk about stuff like the MCU movies, there's certain political takes in those movies, but I think it does get washed down with just bad writing and bad direction, in my opinion. Because Captain America: The First Avenger is about World War II,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, Iron Man is about what it means when you're an individual whose company has been creating weapons to hurt other people around the world, and what are you going to do about it? How are you going to change your life, and stuff like that. um Thor about a I'd have to rewatch Thor, but it really is like the messages are there. It's just
The voice
y-
is not as amplified. That's what I that more so is what I
yeah,
was
yeah,
trying to
there we
say.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely more amplified now, and the opposition to the story points and these plots are being argued against because those voices are now also amplified. There's
Mhm.
way more conversation now because the internet has allowed us to have more conversation about it.
Mhm.
But yeah, but it's always been there. And I think too, and just to tack on to what you were saying about like how Korean dramas or Japanese anime, um, are telling their creative these writers and creators are telling their creative viewpoint about their world around them, about their
Mhm.
community. It's the same for us here. I think another like good example of that, like I watched Heartbreak High, which is an Australian teen drama, and the this iteration of it, because it used to
Mhm.
be like a 90s teen drama too, and this is just the reboot of it. Well, no, it's actually a continuation. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We are talking about, we're not talking about Heartbreak High. um the distinction between First Nations people, their First Nations, their Aboriginal culture, and their Black community, and that conversation, how these terms are different from how we view the Black community and First Nations community and how we talk about it here. So there's been a lot of back and forth with fans about characters being labeled as Black because they don't look Black, because because people from over here only view Black in one sort of aspect, right?
Mhm.
But Heartbreak High is a story about Australian teenagers and their experience. So you have to let the story be told through that way and try to come to an understanding that their viewpoints, their culture, how they identify is different than ours. The
Mhm.
stories that they're telling, though similar, are still told from their perspective. So you have to open your mind and open your heart to hearing these stories and understanding what they're talking about. Just because their categorization of First Nations and Black people aren't the same as African Americans or First Nations people, it's still their story. Australia isn't America. America isn't Australia.
Mhm.
We're not Japan. We're not Korea. We're not Russia. We're not China. We're not South America. We're all telling stories that reflect the world around us.
Mhm.
So whenever people argue that, why are they labeling it as this? Well, that's because that's what they label it as. That's what they do down there. But you have to understand that you can't attack it. You don't live there. You don't know what life is like down there, and then like for when people say like could Japanese anime be more open-minded? Yes, but we also have to come to the understanding that they're not so open-minded there, so they could only tell these stories and reflect it as so much
Yeah.
as their viewpoint goes, as their life goes, as their perspective goes. Um, and I also want to say I don't think that really accounts for when I say, well, it's 2024, we should be telling women's story better. I think that's a little different. But when it comes to political conversations, even though female activism and female stories are political, and so are queer stories. But yeah, I think it's like there's an argument for both sides. I think we just need to come to an understanding. And I also feel like though um creatives all over need to be open to pushing boundaries and creating past their perspective as well. You
Mhm.
know, here too, because I can say this for a lot of shows here that I'm
Yeah.
watching, and that are still highly racist and crazy and homophobic and sexist in the year of our Lord 2024. So it's not just them, it's us too.
Yeah.
But it's gonna take people like us to open to talk to try to be more open to these conversations, talk about it honestly, and be willing to listen to each other to try to change the future and how stories are told or what stories are being told.
Yeah. Because like nowadays with more people have there's more platforms than ever. You know, even with the prominent platforms nowadays of the YouTube, of a Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you know, those are like the more prominent ones. And you know, there's like being a YouTube creator or just a creator in general is now one of the most desirable jobs in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Never like, what is it, I would say when I was in college, never thought that and this was like I was 17, so we're looking at like almost 17 years ago. So like even saying that now, like there was like this wasn't a job market that was particularly around back then. Because even being an online video creator wasn't something that people saw viable. You know, having multiple, I mean, because these types of opinions were just reserved for professional critics, you know, movie critics, TV critics. But now everyone can have a platform. You know,
Mm-hmm.
everyone can now push their thoughts and opinions to talk about, you know, whatever series is out there. You know, have open debates. You know, there's public forum, and that's something that wasn't, you know, really available. You could say it's in 2007 was when YouTube first started. Facebook, not Facebook, MySpace was trying to do stuff with video
Mm-hmm.
back in those days, and that's where you would start to get stuff that would go a little bit viral. But I remember it was America's Funniest Home Videos was like one of the only forms of video we were getting, and then
Mm-hmm.
Tosh 2.0 or point oh, whatever that was. You know, that's pretty much was like the only form of video content we had back in those days where people were sharing their opinions on stuff. And you know, once MySpace and YouTube allowed us to post videos, then you start to see the market come up because how
Mm-hmm.
valuable and you know that digital space was, you know, at that time, you know, that served as your footprint. And here we are, YouTube creators,
Yeah.
in 2024 having these discussions that, you know, maybe we would have had in the comment section of, you know,
Right.
of other things. But now, you know, we're putting our money where our mouth is, as you could say,
Yeah.
when it comes to a lot of these situations and these topics, you know.
Yeah, like before you could really there was only a select few or a lot of people who were
Mm-hmm.
doing it through making bands and hoping to get big but releasing music.
Mm-hmm.
People creating low budget movies, like getting your friends together to create movies.
Mm-hmm.
What you wanted to see or your creative thought process, paintings, not, people who have become famous were mostly started out creating because of how they viewed the world and they wanted to get it on paper. Writers too. It all
Yeah.
starts because an individual wants to get their perspective on the world out there. And there's so much lost media that couldn't ever or hasn't ever reached us all. But now, like you said, with YouTube and social media, it's a more viable option for you to create something and for someone else across the world to see it, to share
Yeah.
it with someone to build community, whether community for good or community for bad, right?
Yeah.
Um, but like comic books too, comic books were, I think, like any form of art and writing or storytelling, is you're taking the perspective of a creator from here and maybe someone on a vacation from overseas has come over, bought a comic book, and then brought it over, and that starts the fever for wanting to bring American comics to other places in the world. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with music. Someone came here on vacation, heard a band, got an album, brought it over. Bands tour, artists tour, people have conversations.
Yep.
Creatives were the one who had, to hope that community would find them and then bring it home or hopefully be able to bring their creations on the road with them. Now you could sit from home and put your creations out to everyone, which I think is a wonderful thing. For all the shit people talk about social media and the internet, I'm quite grateful for it because we wouldn't have situations like this where we could talk about and, start a conversation with people from all over the place, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to really find a lot of the community that I've had in the last 5 years with X-Men if
Yeah.
it wasn't for social media, if it wasn't, or people I've met, or even over, though I hate online gaming, um, for some of the people that I've met through Overwatch or, you know, through chat rooms and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's amazing. And honestly, are we all just immigrants trying to find our place everywhere?
Mhm.
Like, so thank you, Superman.
Yeah.
Thank you, creators of Superman. Look, I'm quite astounded because, I've said before, I've never been the biggest fan of Superman. I've respect in the last 20 years. I've come to
Mhm.
have a very high respect for the character and his story.
Mhm.
Um, and I appreciate my adventures with Superman because it's definitely given me a new love and appreciation for him. So I'm glad we're watching this together.
Same. Well, there's only one episode left for this season, so that's it, guys. We'll be catching you guys for the next episode. I already know. Doses.